Vote, please.
Mayor Dietman.
Here.
President Percival.
Here.
Vice President Bolt.
Here.
Councilman Capabianco.
Here.
Councilman Long.
Here.
Councilman Sidlow.
Here.
Councilman Swigert.
Here.
Councilwoman Guy.
Here.
Chief Murray.
Here.
Mr. Powers. Mr. Wills.
Here.
Ms. Catania will not be here.
She's
Okay, Mr.
excused.
Bennett is here.
Ms. Catania is excused.
Yes.
And Vice President Bull has asked me to speak in a hurry. He's going home to celebrate his wife's birthday.
Thank you, Madam President. They're holding cake and ice cream for me.
I will try. Council had an opportunity to read the minutes of the previous meeting. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to pass last month's minutes?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Mrs. Higgins, do you have any correspondence this evening?
I do. Not much. This is money brought in the office during the month of October. Licenses and inspections, $5,355.50. From public utility realty tax to $927.19. Liens, $5,089. Recorder of deeds, $4,411.96. And for parking tickets, $30. From the Tax Claim Bureau, $1,810.67. From the Borough Tax Collector, Ed Fisher, $7,917.86. And District Court, $427.78. With a total income of October, just what came through this office, it does not include EIT or LST, $25,969.96, and that's all I have.
Super. Moving on, Mayor, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President, Council, good evening, citizens. At the request of the President of Council, because there were some individuals that were not at last month's meeting, the President of Council has requested that I reread the issue concerning disruption of a public meeting. So I beg the indulgence of those individuals who have heard this already. It was dated 20th October 2020, intentional disruption of a public meeting. The disruption of a public meeting by any person or persons and for any reason will not be tolerated. Any person or persons disrupting a public meeting will be escorted from the council chambers by a law enforcement officer. If the disrupted person or persons assumes an attitude of decorum, that person or persons will be allowed to re-enter the chamber. If that person or persons continues to disrupt the public meeting, they will be charged with a criminal act up to violation of 18 Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute 55-5508, disruption of a public meeting, a misdemeanor of the third degree. If while being escorted from the council chambers or any time thereafter, that person or person shows an aggressive action toward any law enforcement officer, they will be charged with a criminal act up to a violation of 18 Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute 2702 ABC, aggravated assault upon a police officer, a felony of the third degree. Police report for October 1st to October 31st. There were 10 crimes reported, 3 thefts, 3 harassment, 2 criminal mischief, and 2 disorderly conduct. 117 calls for service. The most prevalent, domestics, number 7, medical emergencies, 5, assist other agencies, 15, public service, 5, accidents, 4, motor vehicle stops, 15, traffic citations, 13, and 1 ordinance violation. Thank you, Madam President.
Any questions for the mayor? Moving on. Did the fire company give you a report, Mayor? Or
I'm sorry?
did the fire company leave a report for you?
Fire Marshal, you have a report on the fire company? I
No.
can just report that they're making outstanding progress on the financial situation.
Super. I'm very pleased to hear that. At this time, we have called to the citizens for agenda items only. If you see something on the agenda, you have a question, this is the time to ask. It's specifically agenda items only.
Is that including the budget?
Yes.
Hi, Judy Saunders, 62 East Shelton Road. I was looking at the banning shock collars, which quite frankly, I agree with. But how does that affect people if they have invisible fences? May I ask?
Shock collars, we have an ordinance to be advertised if council so desires. If you're familiar with shock collars.
I'm not, so go ahead and
Then-
explain it to me,
then
please.
let me give my pet thing.
Okay.
It goes along with picking up dog do. I'm an animal person. There's various types of collars. One kind of collar will give you a beep. Another kind of collar will give your dog like a static shock, meaning how you walk over a carpet and you get that
Right.
static cling. There's a vibration collar. There's a high-pitched noise collar. There's various ways to train a dog with voice commands versus a shock collar. What'll happen is with a shock collar, if it's defective or if it's on too high of a level for an animal, it can actually give an animal burns. It could cause them to have aggression. It could cause them to have brain trauma. It could cause them epilepsy, confusion, fear, heart attack. It can actually burn a hole through their windpipe.
Oh, my God.
Psychological and pain. There's so many things that a shock collar can do. As far as an electric fence, if you have an electric fence, there's a specific type of device that goes under the dog's collar. It is not the same type of device or frequency as a shock collar. Electric fence has a more of a static ping to it.
Okay.
Like you're walking across a carpet and you get that static, ping, versus a shock collar. Most of the SPCA's and animal trainers do not recommend shock collars. If you leave it on too long and they continue to get that shock, you're going to have an animal go into seizures.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
And they tell you not to let it outside with a shock collar on unless you're actually with the dog. For two reasons. One, it could malfunction. How do you get it off if that dog is in seizures? An animal will bite during seizures. An animal can be conversing into a convulsion. And you're going to try to get that shock collar off that animal as you're getting the same thing, even though you're shutting off the device. When you shut off the device, if it malfunctions, then you've got a twofold problem. So most animal trainers that I've researched and the SPCA's do not recommend it because there's so many other ways to train an animal.
You sold me. Okay, thank you.
In short, Judy, the proposed ordinance for Borough Council's consideration would have no effect, would not regulate, would not prohibit electronic fences.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have a question concerning agenda items only? And that was my speech, Judy. Thank you on animal and shock collars. I'd like to remind council, we're going to move on to the president's report, and I'll try to be brief. December's meeting is going to be December 16th at 7 p.m. because of the Christmas and holiday coming forth. And I'd like to remind council, because we are still in budget season, until it is advertised through authorities tonight, not to post any of the preliminary budget. As everybody knows, it's illegal to put out a post on the preliminary budget until it's legally advertised, which is in violation of Borough Code 1308A. As everybody can tell, we are trying to adhere to all the COVID restrictions. Temperatures are being taken. Council room, actually this building has been disinfected several times. Council room has been disinfected. Council tables, we require masks, and all necessary protocols currently being taken. Until the governor changes and shuts us down, we will continue to take every precaution that we can to keep everybody in this room safe. And that's all I have this evening. I promised Doug I'd be quick. At least for now. Moving on to public safety, code officer Councilman Capabianco?
Thank you, Madam President. All the police vehicles underwent their general maintenance for the month. For code violations, we had a violation along Houston Road between East Avon and East Roland. It's the property of the Pico. I don't know if everybody saw that online or social media. Everybody's going there and putting their trash down over there. That has been resolved after Pico got their citations. Next
Great job.
day,
Great job.
they cleaned it up. So that's the borough putting our foot down on their necks to get things done around here. For public works, I can report general progress. However, we did have a repair in one of our heaters. We had to get a new transducer for the heater over on the police side, because it was old and it had a hole through it. And Madam President, I can't express this enough to you. Thanks again for having all the council hold their money here and not to spend it outwards to anything else, because this is the main reason why we're not spending money and our budget's so tight here, because of stuff like this inside the borough.
Everybody's done good jobs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other than that, I can report general progress.
Any questions for Councilman? Moving on to ordinance, Councilman Schwager.
First ordinance that was presented to me to advertise was ordinance 564, which is the shock collars. I'd like to just read through this right now. Borough Council of Parkside, Delaware County does hereby enact and ordain that no person shall place a collar on or attach a device to any animal that is able to administer an electronic shock to the animal. The purpose shock collars can cause physical pain. I believe you've actually gone through extensively as to the purpose for the ordinance. Violations and penalties. Any person found violating the provisions of the chapter shall, upon conviction, pay a fine of $100 plus costs for the first violation, $200 plus costs for the second violation, $300 plus costs for subsequent violations. Just my own comment on this ordinance is that you did mention, and Solicitor mentioned about the difference between a shock collar and a fence, the collars for a fence. I don't think this ordinance delineates that enough. I think there needs to be a little bit more definitive nature to this before we advertise.
Well,
Because, I mean,
electronic fences are different, have different devices and frequencies than a standard shock collar.
But my issue is, does that electric fence deliver an even if it's small static type shock, it still delivers an electronic shock to the animal, this is why I'm just saying it needs to be a little, I'm not arguing that we should have a ban. I think this just needs to be a little bit more specific in, as far as what?
When you have an electric fence around your property, the dog on its collar has a receiver. When the dog gets near the electronic fence, it can give there's several ways to do this. The device can be set as a beep, a buzz, a ping, or a static ping. It's the shock collar, if you've ever seen one or had a dog that had one, the shock collar is set on different frequencies depending on the size of the dog.
Right.
That's different than the receiver that goes on a dog's collar if you have a perimeter.
I agree with you, and I totally see your point. But what I'm saying is the way the ordinance is worded is that it says, administers an electric shock to the animal, even if it's that little static shock coming from the receiver on an electric fence. By the ordinance, at least the way I interpret the reading, is that would be in violation of the ordinance as per written right now.
Okay, council, what's your thoughts on this?
I would ask you, how would you write it?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how to delineate. I would say we'd have to get more information from a veterinarian or somebody that knows, can give you the specifics on the difference between the training or the
As I said before,
Shock,
that you're
yeah.
talking apples and oranges.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm saying we need to delineate the apples and the oranges in the ordinance.
I agree. I think more information needs to be put in because there's somebody's going to take it and try to split a hair on this.
Yep.
Jay, would you go back and put something in excluding electronic fences?
Yeah, I
please?
think I can make that clear, that in particular sentence or two, that I believe can delineate that so that there's no dispute with regard to what is precisely being prohibited here in Parkside Borough.
Okay. If council's good with that, then we will postpone this until next month. Councilman, do you have more? I think you do.
Yes. Ordinance 565. Due to the nature of this ordinance and the length of this ordinance, should I read the whole thing as is or just
Why don't you
give
do,
the highlights and then allow them, once the advertising?
why don't you do the title and a synopsis of it?
Okay. For those of you that were at the council meeting last month, the chief recommended an ordinance. This is ordinance 565, an ordinance of the Borough of Parkside, Delaware County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, providing for a civil penalty for a minor public health violation in Parkside Borough. This is a civil penalty, whereas a civil penalty provides a practical tool and common sense approach to controlling for the use of small amounts of marijuana. This would become a civil penalty as opposed to a criminal. Chief, please correct me with anything that I might misstate. The reason for the ordinance is that the fees from the civil penalty, as long as we have the ordinance enacted in Parkside, those fees will come back to Parkside as opposed to going on to the county.
Correct. And we're talking small amounts as in 30 grams or less.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 565, or not adopt, sorry, advertise.
Advertise.
Ordinance 565.
Second.
Well, do we have questions?
Question on the motion?
Yeah, so, county fine is $50, and this calls for a fine of $100.
Okay.
Can we amend this down to the county level?
Why would we?
Well, why are we exceeding the county level?
We have the, certainly discretion to go anywhere from $25 up to $300. I think it is the council president's prerogative that $100 is a sufficient fine. And again, that is monetary income that would certainly go to the benefit of the borough and the borough taxpayers.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved to advertise.
Going by the agenda, I'm assuming ordinances 566 and 567 will be introduced by the
Further.
treasurer.
Further down.
Okay. Then at this time, I can just report general progress for ordinances.
Super. License and inspection, does anybody have any questions for Councilman Schweiger? License and inspections, Councilman Long?
Thank you, Madam President. Permits issued for building was residential 6, commercial 0, plumbing residential 4, commercial 0, mechanical residential and commercial 0, electrical residential commercial 0. Use and occupancy inspections were completed, 11 of those. Re-inspection was completed 2, and street opening permit issued 0. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman Long? Moving on, emergency management, Mr. Powers, how are you?
Thank you, Madam President. We have, I'm going to give you all 3 reports at one time.
Sure.
Be much easier. We have 1 fire investigation. We have 2 health investigations. 1 COSA is involved with me. We're working to address that problem. The other one is, as of November 18th, Delaware County reported 287 new cases, bringing the total positive cases in Delaware County of COVID to 16,721. There have been 836 COVID deaths since this spike has reoccurred. One of the eateries here in Parkside is being investigated by the state police for not following COVID restrictions. So I'll keep council abreast on what's going to happen there. The state police can either fine them or shut them down. This is the third time that myself and Nick has been there once with me. I've been there 3 times now. And the state police was called, and they'll make a determination on how to move forward. That's all I have.
Super, thank you, and I don't understand any business not cooperating.
I got something to say.
Any questions?
Yeah, Rob, that one with the COSA down here, there's work being done over there. I forgot to tell you when I saw you earlier today, but we have some plumbing work going on over there, so it's a good thing. No permits needed because we know what's going on, so I want to keep you abreast of that.
Any questions for Mr. Powers? Moving on to the finance, Vice President Bull, how we doing here?
Thank you, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you. Madam President, I would like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? So moved.
I've looked over the preliminary budget, and even with some of the things that are kind of fluctuating with assessments and bringing on a few more bills, I guess you would say, everything seems to be in order, and I would like to commend Joe Pacini for his hard work on this. It was a little bit of a little different than in past years with the way the county has done the reassessment and mill rates, and he had a lot of things to juggle to get us this work here. So,
And I'd like the treasurer to explain what we've cut and also the law of the 10% issue.
Yeah, thank you. This year, the county did the reassessment of all the properties. They put a company went out and they reassessed the properties based on market value. So what happened in Parkside as well as all the other towns, the assessment is going to be well over what it's been in the past. But by law, you're not allowed to raise taxes on the assessment. So if your assessment this year is $100,000 on your house, and with the new assessment it's $150,000, you're not supposed to pay more in taxes. So what we do is we pass a revenue neutral budget, and then once we find out where we are deficit-wise, we can then raise taxes 10% once your assessment's set, so roughly about $1 million to cover some of our expenses. And that's pretty much, this 12.5 mils will come down because the county has the reassessment on the website, but it's not in an Excel spreadsheet. You can't add all, I can't even see it. So we'll be getting the letter sometime in December. We normally get it November 15th, but with the COVID and everything, it's really banging us up because we have to have this passed by the end of the year. We'll get our assessment letter from the county sometime in December, and we'll also get, I'm sure a lot of people are appealing their assessments, so that could affect our tax rates too. So what we did was, we cut some things, a portion of the money we were going to pay the fire company we cut. We pulled out the truck bed that we were going to pay for. We cut some in recreation, and there are also some cuts in
Newsletter, we're
newsletters, right? We're going to do two instead of
twice
four.
a year.
But what happened, where the problem is, it's not an expense issue. Most towns, it's a revenue issue. With COVID, the loss of jobs, and with the shutdown, it's very difficult to budget what the earned income tax is going to be coming in the fourth quarter and the first quarter of 2021. People are probably going to hold their real estate taxes, whereas in the past they've paid a discount period, not knowing what the future holds. They may hold the pay at face time, so we won't get our cash in as quickly. And then also, court fees and fines are down because the court's closed. Permits are down, expect to be down because not a lot of people aren't building. The only thing that's actually up is real estate transfer tax because a lot of people are selling their homes because the market's so good. It's kind of weird. But the council's done a real good job managing expenses. I've been here about 13 or 14 years working here, and we've really started to accumulate a surplus, which is kind of nice. A rainy day fund for any major expenses, we have money to pay for it without having to go out and get a loan to pay for it. We budget a police car. The police get a small raise based on the contract. There's a small raise for the non-uniform employees in here. We still have to get the tax anticipation note, but that's at a pretty low rate right now. And then there'll be an increase in the trash, not due to anything the council did. The county dump site raised their tonnage to $3 a ton, up to $58. And 4 or 5 years ago, that was $23 a ton. It's up to $58 now. So we had to raise our trash fee $245, $17 to $245 a year, which is a steal. I mean, you get your trash picked up twice a week, every week in the year for $245. Your cable bill probably costs $150 a month, and the channels stink. So this is nobody can really argue the trash, but to the council's credit, they don't control the cost of the trash. The county does. And with the dumping site, landfills being filled more and more up, they have to find other ways to put the trash somewhere, so they increase the cost. So $17 increase isn't that bad. And you also kept recycling, I guess, about a year or two.
That's
ago.
correct.
So when a few towns, other towns had cut recycling, we kept it here. That's why our trash fee went up a couple of years ago too. But all in all, the budget's pretty solid. We'll know better in December what the actual assessment is on people's properties when the county sends out their letter. And and we'll end up with a surplus this year because people will watch what they're spending.
And I looked at the website as you did. I could not find, well, number one, I could barely see.
That's the thing, and it wasn't, you couldn't download it to an Excel spreadsheet, so I couldn't even add it up.
You couldn't download it.
And there's no totals.
And there was no totals. And I kept looking for the totals, but they didn't give you. So it was useless. So we're still, at this point, have a balanced budget with a projected maximum 10% increase at this time.
Yeah, we'll just have to, that 12.65 mils will be somewhere like 4 or 5 mils once we get the new assessment in.
Okay.
Because that has to be adjusted, because the assessment's gonna be that much larger. So,
So this is the old number until the...
well, this is the
Yeah,
old number
this is-
based on, the old number was 1150, the increase was 1.15 mils.
Right.
But the mills are gonna be worth a lot more now because our assessments go way up, so you have to reduce the millage to account for the higher assessments. And we'll do that once we get the assessment.
Okay, so
And
this
we're
number...
hoping this all balances out.
Exactly.
So that the new millage versus the old millage with the increase will balance out.
Yeah, and what you have in Parkside, it's residentially tax-based. I mean, you don't have any industry, you have small businesses, so the residents pay for the services, and it's got good and bad. You have a good council managing it, your police do a real good job managing their expenses, but you can't go to businesses and hit them because you don't have it. I mean, some towns, industries, the industry in these new reassessments, some of these businesses have gone way up, so they'll man a lot of the increases in other towns. Here, it's the residents that pay for it.
Right.
Joe, I heard from officials from Delcor that, of course, sets our sewer rates. And last evening, they finally adopted their budget. So they were running late as well. There's a lot of moving parts down at Delcor as well. Traditionally, they adopt their budget toward the end of October, and we have an idea of what their rates are. Last evening, they finally got around to adopting the budget, and I expect there will be a modest increase in sewer rates for the residents here in Parkside Borough, beginning in January of 2021.
Well,
Thank
there's nothing we can do about it. Vice President, would you like to read, actually, just the revenue and expenditures for the preliminary budget, please?
General fund, anticipated, revenue should be 1.5.
Yep.
1.6099. And then the trash fund will be at 187,364. Liquor fuels fund will be at $68,491. All total budgets, all funds would be 1.615, $1,615,954.
You want to entertain a motion to accept the first reading?
Well, let me just say this, it's a small but comfortable increase across the board, and it really is reflected in a steady increase of our bills going up over the years. So nothing has truly changed, it's just a step up. And it will also take a little bit more of the fire companies, some of their operating budgets, and help them and support them a little bit more. So this is a very community-centered budget. It moves us in the right direction. And the increase, as Mayor and Council have said over the years, it's a cup of coffee a week type sort of thing. And I don't begrudge anybody their cup of coffee, but I have seen a lot of people move from what used to be sweat to what is now dollars. So it's kind of a change in the time. So I will make a motion to accept the 2021 preliminary budget,
The first reading.
first reading.
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
So this motion means we're accepting the treasurer providing this to us, is that what that means?
No, it means that we have now announced to the community the preliminary budget on expenditures and income and trash fee information.
Okay.
And next month, we will do a second reading, which will be the final to accept the budget for 2021.
Okay. You can't do anything for 10 days before it's advertised, and then after that, I'll continue to try to reduce any cost up until the adopts in December.
Well, just so everybody's, again, one more time, we've changed some things. We've adjusted the general fund budget at this point is $1,547,463, income and expenditures. Anybody have any questions on the reductions, trash fee, et cetera, and on the motion to accept the first reading of the budget? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
And just so we're clear, the preliminary budget now needs to be advertised by the Borough Secretary, right, Linda? So you'll
That's
place
going to be next.
a small ad in the newspaper advising the general public that we have adopted a preliminary budget. It's available for public inspection here at the Borough Municipal Building. And for the next 10 days, right, we can't amend the budget, we have to allow it as is. And then after 10 days, again, we can continue to refine that budget, tweak it, make changes as necessary, and hopefully the idea of adopting a final budget at the December monthly meeting, which is on the 16th, Shirley, is that correct? By law, of course, we have to adopt an annual budget on or before December 31st, and we hope to accomplish that, obviously, on the December 16th monthly meeting.
If not, nobody gets paid.
At this time, I would like to
Thank
make a
you.
motion to advertise the 2021 preliminary budget.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. Moving along, we have the ordinance 566 for the 2021 trash fee. Reflects an increase that is born solely out of cost of disposal, which would end up at $245 per household. Make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on advertising ordinance 566?
How does a house that has 4 units or 3 units, we have some of those in the borough, how do they get assessed?
Individually.
Yes.
Individually.
So each of the 4 units pays $245?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you have 2, okay.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor to advertise ordinance 566? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. I will make a motion to advertise ordinance 567, the 2021 tax rates based off of the old assessment at 12.65 mils to be, I guess, amended in December.
What we can do is advertise it, and then come December's meeting, if we have any projected change, we can amend that at the time of the motion.
We'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Madam President. Moving on to the Woodlot project, I think it's probably time we get some of the signage started. Get a few of those things, there's a few dollars set aside that has been set aside for well over a year now to get that up and running. It's still my goal at some point to have a fitting tribute to the Ford Fitness Trail. Also, just a quick side note, something of a little bit of levity. Last Saturday, the Boy Scouts invited, or the Cub Scouts invited me to go down there and do some knots and ropes. So we kind of had a walk through, COVID safety. Everybody stayed 6 feet apart, but it was a lot of fun. The weather was beautiful, and people are actually enjoying the park and things like that. So thank you all council for supporting that project over the years. So, and with that, I will report general progress.
I'm going to guess spraying for poison ivy down there is waiting for the springtime.
I would love to have an invasive plant abatement program. Started looking into it. Actually, wintertime would be the best time for cut and spray.
Okay, then could you come back in December and give us some ideas of what we could do, or in January?
I keep hoping that there's a grant that comes out
Okay.
that has for Atlantis trees and other invasives like multiple rose and poison ivy and things like that. So I just kind of been keeping an eye out to see if perhaps there's some money available. And I'll ask Damien as well.
Maybe after the first of the year.
Something along that, during season.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President.
Any questions for Vice President Bull? Moving on to recreation, Councilman Schwager.
I'm just going to report general progress as far as the recreation report goes at this time.
Thank you. Recycling MS4, Councilman Capabianco.
Thank you, Madam President. For the month of October, total trash was 220 a ton, and recycling was 15.10 a ton. And that's all I have.
Any questions for the councilman? Did Mr. Fisher leave us a report?
He did.
He did. That means he left us money.
Okay, the treasurer received a total of $900,653.84 to date. There was $7,713.25 in revenue deposits from October 11th to November 11th. That's that.
Super, thank you. And Ms. Catania's excused this evening. Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just two issues on my report. Number one concerns the 2021 tax and revenue anticipation note. Again, this is basically a short-term loan that the borough acquires each calendar year. This loan, again, for 2021 will be in the amount of $100,000. I expect we'll go back to the bank that we have been dealing with now for a number of years. They have been giving us very, very competitive rates. I will be preparing a written resolution for Borough Council's consideration at the December monthly meeting, authorizing that tax and revenue anticipation note. There are a number of legal documents associated with obtaining that loan, which I will prepare, and the documents generally have to be executed by both the council president and the borough secretary, so I will have that available for Borough Council's consideration at the December 16th monthly meeting. Traditionally, we try to pay that off within 6 months, but I think this year we may have gone a bit longer, did we, Joe, just to make sure that we had a cushion as a result of the COVID pandemic here. Second issue I want to report on is at the September monthly meeting, Borough Council had directed me to communicate with the Office of the Governor with regard to certain social media posts of Councilwoman Anna Guy, and I in fact had written to the governor at the end of September and had provided him some information with regard to those social media posts and inquired as to whether the governor wished to take any action under Article 6, Section 7 of the Pennsylvania Constitution. On or about October 30th, I received correspondence back from the governor concerning the correspondence I had forwarded to him relative to the situation with Councilwoman Guy, and I would simply read that into the record. It's a fairly short correspondence. Dear John, thank you for your correspondence. Please know that I am committed to providing exceptional constituent services. So I want to ensure that your issue is addressed. However, based upon the information you provided in your correspondence, this issue is managed by your local government. As governor, I have no jurisdiction over this issue and urge you to contact your local authorities. It is my hope that you find resolution to your situation through the proper channels. Should you have any questions regarding local government or state government, please contact my office, 717-787-2500, or the governor's website, so forth and so on. Sincerely, Governor Wolf. Again, I think I indicated to council, I think I have somewhat of a difference of opinion with regard to the language and the wording of the Constitution. However, the governor has chosen to refrain from taking any action in this matter. And that is all I have to report. Other than that, I can report general progress.
Super, thank you, Jay. Just so everyone on council is reminded, October 30th, this information was given to everyone on council that the governor did not wish to proceed with any issues with Mrs. Guy. And I had also said to everyone on council, because so many negative comments have been flying around on social media, that maybe we can all curtail negative comments and move on from this issue, no matter what the political persuasion may be, to help mend this borough. Anybody have any questions or comments for the solicitor? Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we do call to citizens. If anybody would like to address council, if you would come up to the podium, give us your name and your address, please.
Hi, Judy Saunders, 62 East Cheltenham Road. With the resurgence of COVID.
Oops.
Oh, am I on?
I'm sorry. No, I keep forgetting to set
You
my...
keep forgetting to set the egg timer for me?
I bought a new one.
You got it?
Got it.
Okay, it's like I'm playing Pictionary. With the resurgence of COVID, I was thinking about doing a sign-up genius for people that could maybe help anybody who's hard hit by it. I was reading a book called The Circus Fire, and the reason these people were able to handle a catastrophe was because they were all prepping for World War II on the home front, so bread trucks would become ambulances. I was thinking on a smaller scale, where anybody who does a PTL knows that you sign up for just one thing. I can go grocery shopping for you. I can come shovel your walk. And then it could be managed through the borough so that everybody knows about it, so it isn't felt partisan, but that we have a list of people who are willing to help those who might be severely impacted. And I think Lisa, who's doing the food drive, already has kind of a nexus of people that may be in need, that they can call the borough secretary and say, okay, I can't go out, I have comorbidity problems, so could somebody go shopping for me? Or I don't have anybody who comes and visits me, could somebody do a Zoom call where you read to me? Something like that. Just so that we do have community unity if this gets worse, that everybody feels like they're still connected, even though we're all kind of sequestered away.
I thank you for that. And several years ago, we had a program called Helping Hands here in the borough. And I think, Nick, were you on board at that time? The residents who needed that help would let Linda know. And on the other hand, the rest of this could help, let Linda know, and we would match them. There's several programs out there, one of which I'm in the process of volunteering for through AARP, and they do phone call. And you might do 5 phone calls a day, and it's random. And just check in, do you need anything, are you having troubles? We can give you to a social system, social workers or whatever.
Right.
So I think it's a great idea if we can coordinate.
And again, with the Sign Up Genius, anybody who has a child knows it's very simple. You can just sign up. We could make a list of things that maybe would be needed and just have people sign up for those specific things in kind of a phone tree sort of way.
Well, what do you do with the seniors or somebody who's not computer literate? Or
Well,
has no
here's the
computer?
thing. I'm thinking that most of the people who are signing up on the Sign Up Genius are the ones who are going to offer their time.
Okay.
And then the people who need it are going to be the ones who call in.
We need a call in for our people who don't have
Right, so
computers.
the Sign Up
Not
Genius would be probably the younger people who are aware of how that works, and then she would have at her disposal the whole list of people that she could call.
Yeah. Linda, do you have any questions for?
Yes, I do. As in the past, when we had this
Mhm.
Helping Hands, we had lots of volunteers. But none of, this was not for, it was for whatever an elderly person needs. If they're
Right.
inside, that, you know, we'll go check on you, make sure you're okay, do phone calls. Lots of volunteers, but nobody would call for the help and
Right.
ask for the help. Nobody.
Well, we're finding just, again, using Lisa in the food drive, that in this idea of call us, there's discretion, you don't need to feel like you're going to be outed for this need,
Right.
or that you're going to be, there's no shame in that game. She basically, if there's families in Parkside that need food, they just speak to her and nobody else knows about it. We just donate the food and she's the one who puts it all together. So I figure you'd be operating as Lisa on that. So nobody needs to know anything except Linda, and then you can just connect the two people.
Absolutely, I can do that.
All right? Thanks, guys.
Are you gonna set it up?
I can set up the
Like the verbiage and all that?
I can set up the Sign Up Genius and send it to you, and then you can edit it if you think there's other things. Like they make, a lot of elderly people or people with comorbidity have animals that maybe can't be walked because they can't go out of the house. That's something young kids can do very easily, and would be happy to volunteer for.
Councilman, you had a question?
Not just for people that can't look, like elderly that can do that, but with the COVID, if you have a family that has to sequester for
14 days.
Right,
for
if
2
you're
weeks,
quarantined for 14 days.
it could be a younger family that all of a sudden needs somebody to go grocery shopping because they can't leave their house for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, not just that.
Where it could be just a short term, hey, I just need this for this week.
Absolutely.
Well, a lot of the grocery stores provide delivery service. But
I just mentioned grocery.
I was thinking
Walking
more
pets
of, I have a prescription or I'm out of Tylenol, or you need to go get something specific like a CVS or Rite Aid or,
Yeah.
something like that. Does anybody else wish to address council? If you could give your name and your address?
Hi, I'm Ashley Roberts. I'm legally Ashley Sorgi, but I go by Roberts, and I'm at 118 East Avon. I just kind of wanted to dovetail off of that. I think that's a fantastic idea. I've seen a lot of programs that work that way, including almost like a barter system where people can offer their time, and I think that would be really good to flesh that out. Another way to connect with, I work for the Department of Aging, so I'm familiar with that for a different county, but COSA works the same way my office does. It's all under the same law. We could connect with the Information and Assistance Office at COSA, so if older adults are calling in and looking for, we get these calls all the time, I need this help. Well, the social workers at COSA aren't going to, we'd always say, oh, I didn't bring my wrench to work today, I'm sorry, I can't fix your sink. But somebody in the community might be able to do that, and they could call Linda. For people who aren't 60, we could probably link into Community Action Agency of Delaware County. 211 is the 911 for social services, so we can see about adding it to the United Way, just for people that don't know how to use the Sign Up Genius system. I really think that's a great idea to just say, hey, Parkside offers this, and then when Information and Assistance or the senior centers get a call, they can call Linda.
And COSA is a wonderful source for all of our seniors. And unfortunately, most of the senior centers in this area
They are
are
closed.
closed down right now, where people were sharing their information. So COSA is always a wonderful source of information.
The senior centers are closed, but the information and assistance workers who
Are
work
open.
for there are working.
Yes.
So
thank you.
that hasn't shut down.
Thank you.
Madam President, isn't it nice to see our residents put their political agendas aside and we come back together again as a unit in Parkside? I think it's a great idea from our residents.
I do too.
It's a good idea.
Does anybody else wish to address council? Because the cake and ice cream is waiting for Vice President.
Burn down.
Madam
Does
President,
anybody else wish to address council? Last go.
Councilman Swider, do you want to?
I think she's just doing call to citizens.
Are we finished? Yep, we will move on. Thank you. We're under unfinished business again. December council meeting is going to be December 16th, regular time. Under new business, I need a motion to advertise the 2021 meetings.
I'll make that motion.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. And Councilman Schweiger, you want to bring up something under new business?
Actually, there's two things I'd like to bring up. One, it was mentioned last council meeting, I just want to mention again, on Saturday, December 5th, starting at 1 o'clock, there is going to be a small parade through Parkside. The gentleman in the big red suit will be coming around to just kind of
Ho, ho, ho.
ho, visit, greet. You should hear us coming well before we get there. So, kind of keep an ear out for that first Saturday in December. First Saturday in December. Since it is an outdoor event, rain date will be that Sunday.
Okay.
One other thing I'd like to mention, hopefully Parkside, everybody should have received somewhere on their door, these green door hangers. The Scouts Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts went around this past weekend and this past week, cleaning those houses that we ran out of flyers for. But this Saturday's morning, we will be coming around doing the annual Scouting for Food campaign. We are doing Parkside and Brookhaven, all food collected are going to local food banks. So everything that we collect this weekend is staying here within the community. And that is all I have.
You just want to send me the language to send us out an email
Eric.
blast?
I'll have it for you.
Got it all?
He's got it. He's got it.
Can I add something on to Councilman
Please.
Swider? Also, with the Christmas event on December 5th, we're also doing a virtual raffle Christmas trees, gift card Christmas trees. We have 4 of them, 2 for the east side, 2 for the west side. We went to all the local businesses. They've generously donated gift cards. You can get probably at least $150 on each tray
Wow.
of gift cards. Yeah.
Is that my tree?
Not yet. We're so adding. We have a list of all the residents' homes in Parkside, and we will be drawing 4 addresses out of a jar or whatever. That's how we're doing it this year, and then you'll be contacted when we show up at your door.
It's not by name, it is by address.
Right, simply by address.
So you don't have to sign up, as long as you have an address in our system in Parkside, you're entered into the drawing.
And I have to thank Kim Roman and Melinda. They're also going to be doing the Christmas tree in the park this year. That will be set up by December 5th. And I think is that everything?
I think that's pretty much it.
The only issue I see with that is I got 114 houses that are rentals. So the landlord's going to get that prize if that happens to be picked out? Or you want to
No.
contact me and I'll let you know if it's a rental or
Yeah,
not?
I would say contact Nick.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
work that out.
That's not fair to the.
No,
Yeah,
no.
no.
It's not fair. Does anybody have any new business, unfinished business, or questions so Doug can get home to his cake?
Yeah, real
Mayor,
quick,
I'm sorry.
real quick, and then Doug can get home to his wife. Solicitor Wills, we held 2 meetings via Zoom in April and May in which residents were not given the ability to attend. Additionally, we have reached the capacity allowable for this space under COVID guidelines for the meetings in September and October, and residents were turned away. Are these meetings considered open under the Sunshine Act?
Yes, people can still submit questions if they wish, and again, we have limited capacity here, absolutely. The capacity is really at 25. These meetings are in fact obviously being filmed and uploaded onto the internet. But certainly, anybody that has questions beforehand are welcome to submit those questions, certainly to the Borough Secretary, and those questions can be addressed here at a public meeting. But the short answer, yes, we are in fact in compliance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act as these meetings are presently being constituted.
And let me build off of that for one quick second. I know council's anxious to get out of here tonight. Last month, it was rumored that we turned down people because of their political persuasion. That is untrue. They weren't locked out because they were Republican, Democrat, or Independent. There was no lockout. When we reach the capacity of this room, including every one of us at this table, we are under governor's rules to watch our capacity. We take temperatures. You can come in the front door, get your temperature taken. We have hand sanitizer. This whole building has been sprayed, as I said before, 4 times. This council table and your chairs were sprayed today again. Masks are required. We have done everything possible, including spending tax dollars for the equipment that is recording us, so that if somebody cannot get in, they certainly, or don't want to come in, and I have put this out on an email, if a member of council feels uncomfortable coming into a meeting, they may submit their report, if you have one, to Mrs. Higgins, and you don't have to attend. If a member of the public wishes to submit a question to council, you most certainly can submit a question. The issue has been, Mrs. Guy, and I was not going to bring this up because Nick was right, things were moving quite smoothly.
And we're back.
Well, I disagree. The Sunshine Act.
Well, are you going to disagree with our attorney?
Yes, I am going to disagree with our attorney. Well, all right, let me read it to you. You guys can make your own decision. The Sunshine Act gives the public the right to comment on issues that are or may be before the board. Agencies must provide a reasonable opportunity for residents and/or taxpayers to comment on an issue before a situation takes place. From the advisory issued by the Office of Open Records on March 11, to the extent practicable, local government agencies must provide for public participation directly through teleconferencing or video conferencing system used to hold the meeting via email and/or via postal mail. Ideally, agencies will accommodate all 3 methods and possibly others. Note, practicable is a much stronger word than practical. Merriam-Webster defines practicable as capable of being put into practice or of being done or accomplished. Feasible. In other words, unless it is actually impossible to do so, it must be done. This means that advance notice and public participation are essentially required. According to the Sunshine Act, all the meetings I referenced were not open, which is required. We violated the rights of any resident who was prevented from attending, all of whom would have standing in a case against both the council and against each person participating in these meetings. Nowhere in the Sunshine Act does it say that recording the meeting so that residents can watch it after the fact is an acceptable substitute for an open meeting. Residents have the right to attend the meeting in real time and comment on items being discussed. According to the Sunshine Act, Section 714, penalty, fines and costs. Any member of any agency who participates in a meeting with the intent and purpose by that member of violating this chapter commits a summary offense and shall, upon conviction, be sentenced to pay for the first offense the costs of prosecution plus a fine of at least $100, and in the discretion of the sentencing authority of not more than $1,000. For the second, I won't even read the second offense. If the court determines that an agency willfully or with wanton disregard violated a provision of this chapter in whole or in part, the court shall award the prevailing party reasonable attorney fees and costs of litigation or an appropriate portion of the fees and costs. If the court finds that the legal challenge was of a frivolous nature or was brought with no substantial justification, the court shall award the prevailing party reasonable attorney fees and costs of litigation, or an appropriate portion of the fees and costs. It seems to me that, as our solicitor, you should have warned counsel that our 2 Zoom meetings, which excluded residents from commenting, violated the Sunshine Act. Additionally, when you observed that we had exceeded the capacity of this room in September and October and residents were prevented from attending, you should have advised counsel that we were violating the rights of our residents. I sent an email 9 days ago asking that we move our meetings to Zoom so that we could allow all residents who wish to participate to do so. At that time, you did not advise us to hold our meetings on Zoom in order to adhere with the law. Is it your job as our solicitor to know the law and advise counsel to follow the law in order to protect the rights of our residents and so the borough and council members avoid risk of litigation and fine?
Mrs. Guy, are you finished slandering our attorney of him not knowing what he's supposed to be doing?
I've spoken to other attorneys.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking this time. We've gone from trying to sue the borough over Facebook, now suing the borough over the Sunshine Act. We cannot hold it. You suggested the school. The school Wednesdays fumigate. I don't think
Zoom.
any of us
Zoom.
want to go, you said school in your email.
I did, but first I said Zoom.
And the school is doing their disinfection and fumigating on Wednesdays, so that's out. Zoom meeting, I think right now, the governor has set the limits and quality of what we can or cannot do, and we're following the governor's guidelines. I have suggested numerous times, for those that are uncomfortable being here, please submit your report. You don't have a committee, so you don't have a report to submit. Another thing is, we've followed every protocol that we can possibly take to do this. People can send, and this is on tape, people can see it tomorrow. If you have a question and you cannot attend, as always has been, not a political slander statement, not a who likes who politically. If you have a governmental question, what are we doing with the budget? Mrs. Saunders projected a project which is excellent. If you have situations or questions or concerns, please submit them. Mrs. Higgins, as well as everybody on council, all our emails have been shared all over the world, so please submit it to the office at parksideborough.com. I don't know what else we can do to pacify you, Mrs.
Hold the meetings on Zoom like Brookhaven, like Upland, like Essington.
Actually,
like all of
Upland's
them.
closed down now, I understand. Would you like us to close down too?
No, but we could hold them on Zoom like every
Well,
other
I'll tell
time.
you what, would you prefer, Eric, would you prefer it Zoom or would you prefer it live?
Live.
Me too.
So how are we adhering to the governor's suggestion?
What is your hard on about this?
Because we're supposed to be 6 feet apart. This room is ridiculous.
Why do you not
Why
sit,
are
there
you-
is a
why
chair
do you
here.
talk to me about a hard-on?
Because
How rude
apparently
are
you need one.
There is a chair here, Mrs. Guy. Would you like to, from now on, sit there? It's 6
Why
feet
don't you
away
go on
from
Zoom
us.
and we can watch you at home?
We have tried to accommodate everything we can do according to the governor's rules and regulations.
No, you haven't.
And so
And
you're
the
going to sue the
persons-
borough
I'm
over
not
this?
gonna
Nobody was stopped from coming in.
Today.
We were stopped because we were at capacity according to our
Judy, were you
emergency
able to attend
management.
last month? No, I wasn't. Matt, were you able to attend last month?
And why? Why?
The officer is right there that stopped it last month. Officer, would you explain the situation that happened last month? You were the one who did it.
Our marshal gave us direction that the building was in capacity and no one else was permitted into the building.
And the Sunshine Law says that people are supposed to be able to attend meetings.
And how would you like to go through that if we're at capacity in accordance with the
We do
governor?
it on Zoom.
You put it on Zoom when you were here.
Yeah,
You never
you were
did.
supposed to do
No,
that.
I
I had to do it.
wasn't. No, I wasn't, not Zoom.
You can't even do trash.
Well, let me ask you something. Were you not protesting November 7th in Chester for the anti-gun rally, and I believe I saw the tape of you there without a mask and many others.
Oh, no, I had a mask on.
You were speaking, you did not have a mask
took
on,
it off to
and there were
speak.
many others in the crowd that did not have a
I
mask
took
on.
it off to speak like you have it off to
But
speak.
there were many people in the crowd that had no mask on.
Find me the other
Madam
mask.
President, please.
You're right, Mayor,
This
you're
council
right.
is being held before the public, and I'll be perfectly honest
You're
with
right.
you. You all are acting like children, and it's ridiculous.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's ridiculous. If
Thank you.
Councilwoman McGinnis Guy has an issue about how council meetings are brought up, then she has every right to voice that issue.
But
all right?
not
But
to
getting a
accuse,
getting a shouting argument between councilmen at this table is ridiculous.
It is.
It makes the council, it diminishes their authority in the face of the people. So I'm asking you, please, stop arguing.
you're absolutely right, Mayor, and I apologize to the public. I truly apologize. We have tried to convey to the public every opportunity to attend a meeting, send a question. Contact a council member. Many people have contacted me personally. You have 7 council members. Contact them if you have a question. If you can't reach one of us, Mrs. Higgins is here. Contact her.
I just want to indicate, if I could,
Please.
back on or about April the 20th of 2020, Governor Wolf did in fact sign new legislation authorizing municipal bodies to meet by telecommunications device. That telecommunications device need not be a Zoom meeting. The legislation says to the extent possible, the Borough Council must allow for some level of public participation in the telecommunications meeting. That can be accomplished by either live citizen participation in the meeting or the submission of written comments prior to the meeting. Again, I want to confirm, the meetings that we have had thus far in 2020 are in fact in compliance with the law, with all due respect to the opinion of Ms. Guy, and she is certainly entitled to her opinion.
Again, public and council, I'd like to apologize for losing my temper. It's not normally my way of dealing with things. And unless council or any other member on this end of our professional staff has anything else, I'll require a motion to adjourn.
You make the first.
I'll make that motion.
Vice President and Perry. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I apologize.